Okay, here we are, Matthew Russell Lee, Inner City Press, here in Foley Square. It's Friday, January 27th, 2023. First, the news from yesterday. Sayfullo Saipov, who drove down the West Side Highway bike path with a Home Depot pickup truck in 2017, killing 8 and injuring others, smashing into a school bus, was yesterday convicted on all 28 counts. But it's only the first stage, the liability phase. Yes, he's guilty. Now, beginning February 6th, but being debated today in advance, the penalty phase. What's on the table for the penalty? Why is it being done in 2 phases? Because he faces the death penalty. So we're going to be covering today's arguments and, of course, the second round. There were some hiccups. There was at least a couple of jurors, or one juror, that had some issues about this question of whether Saipov did it to join or increase his position in ISIS, or simply in order to go to heaven. But that will be picked up again in the second phase with the same jury, interestingly enough. Now, there's a trial that I've been covering that's actually, from my point of view, kind of more interesting. It has more moving parts. It's not a question of interest. Those are 8 dead. This trial involves 3 dead. It's the case of U.S. versus Billy Ortega. He's an individual that was having cocaine delivered to relatively affluent people in Manhattan. 3 people died in March 2001. One worked for Credit Suisse, First Boston. One was a lawyer. One was a social worker. And charges were brought. Essentially, murder by fentanyl. He faces 25 years. The cooperator, however, Mr. Rainey, is accused of selling drugs while in the MDC with his cooperation agreement, as well as prostituting himself. So it's been a real back and forth in courts, but in front of Judge Abrams. And we're going to be covering it to the end because it kind of shows the various parts of New York. One of the buyers testified, and he's like, I found another courier service, very, very flippant. So that's a case to be watching. We continue to watch the United Nations. In fact, we just passed there just a while ago to check it out because they're failing so badly on Ukraine, the main test. Antonio Guterres has failed every test of his Secretary Generalship, including Yemen, Cameroon, and now Ukraine, and yet nothing is done. He bans the press that asks, but we will continue.